The parking lot was almost empty, except for the distant sound of a shopping cart wheel squeaking in lazy circles. The sky was dull gray, the kind of overcast that flattened shadows and made everything feel colder than it really was. Fluorescent lights flickered above the mall's entrance, humming softly, a noise that most people never noticed, but that seemed to press on the back of your skull when you were alone. It was late October in Eugene, Oregon. The leaves had turned to fire, its oranges, reds, ochres, but the wind stripped them quickly, leaving them to dance across the pavement like they were trying to escape something unseen. There was a heaviness in the air, a stillness that felt unnatural. The world was holding its breath. Allison Granger stood outside the entrance to Val, clutching her daughter's small pink hoodie in her trembling hand. It had been 12 years, but she still came back every year. Same hour, same spot. It was her ritual, her punishment, her hope. Emily had been 3 years old when she vanished inside those glass doors, a Saturday afternoon, a quick errand. Allison had only looked away for a few seconds. That's what she told the police, over and over. And it was true, but those seconds had swallowed her whole. The hoodie still smelled like sunscreen and apple juice. Allison had kept it sealed in a plastic bag for over a decade, only removing it once a year to hold it here, on this day, in this place. A memorial of sorts, a time machine, a knife. The wind picked up, dragging the hem of her long coat behind her. She squinted as a leaf flew past her face, dry and weightless. She'd parked far from the doors, just like she did that day. She wanted everything to match: the walk, the chill, the sound of her heels clicking against the pavement. Everything needed to feel the same, as if she might step into the memory and somehow change it. She reached the entrance and paused. The automatic doors stuttered open, the sensors aging poorly over the years. A rush of artificial heat washed over her, tinged with popcorn grease, synthetic perfume, and something faintly musty. The mall was dying, but not dead. A few stores remained. The rest were darkened, their windows covered in peeling posters, for sales that had never. Inside, her steps echoed. The tiles beneath her shoes were cracked in places. The air smelled old, but the music playing through the speakers was trying too hard to sound cheerful, some overly processed pop ballad from a decade ago. The carousel still stood in the center court. It hadn't worked in years, but no one had taken it apart. The paint was faded, the horses chipped and motionless, as though caught mid-gallop. Emily had begged to ride it that day, and Allison had said, "Next time." She never said next time to anything anymore. There was a bench beside the carousel, and Allison sat there slowly, clutching the hoodie like it might whisper something if she listened long enough. Her eyes scanned the space as they had every year. The old pretzel stand now boarded up, the bathroom hallway to the left, dimly lit, the play area with padded shapes deserted. Then her gaze froze. A little boy stood alone near the water fountain. No parent, no guardian. Just standing there, looking down at something in his hands. She stood up quickly, heart racing. But then a woman appeared from behind the pillar and scolded him gently, taking his hand away. Unaware of the wave of nausea, Allison sat back down and exhaled hard. Her vision blurred. She pulled out a small journal from her purse, one she only used once a year. She opened it and turned to the back, where dozens of letters began with the same words. "Dear Emily, today I came to see you again." She didn't get to finish writing this year's letter, because that was when she noticed something unusual. Someone had placed an envelope beneath the carousel, white, no markings, no stamps, just sitting there, partially tucked into the base where no one would notice unless they were sitting exactly where she was. Her chest tightened. She looked around. The mall was nearly empty. Just a few elderly walkers doing laps and a teenager tapping behind the phone repair kiosk. She hesitated, then reached forward and pulled the envelope out. It was addressed to Emily's mom, that was all. Handwritten. No return address, no seal. Her hand shook. She turned it over, half expecting it to be empty or meaningless. But inside was a single sheet of lined paper, folded once. She opened it slowly. She's not gone, not like you think. Look at what was left behind. You missed it before. You'll find it now, under the 7th step. There was no signature, nothing more. Allison stared at the letter, rereading it as her mind raced. Was it a cruel joke, a sick prank, or something else? Something impossible to ignore? Under the 7th step. Step where? The mall didn't have stairs, and then she remembered the service exit, near the old movie theater, now long shuttered. There had been a stairwell there, mostly unused. Employees only. She'd never thought to go down there before. Her legs moved before her mind did. She tucked the letter into her coat and started walking, past the old GameStop, past the salon that had become a storage unit, past memories clawing at her from both sides. The door to the stairwell was still there. It groaned when she pushed it open, the hinges stiff with age and rust. The light inside was dim, flickering slightly. The stairs were cement, lined with yellow-painted safety edges now faded. She descended slowly. Her breath caught. 5, 6, 7. She crouched, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She reached beneath the 7th step, her fingers searching the darkness. For a moment she felt nothing but grime and cold metal. But then something, a small plastic toy. She pulled it out. It was a bracelet. Pink, with colorful letter beads spelling out Emily. The elastic was frayed. Some of the beads were cracked, but it was hers. Allison remembered it clearly. She had made it with Emily during a rainy Saturday, one of those just us afternoons. The bracelet had been on her wrist the day she... Allison's breath left her body in one long, broken sound. She sat down on the cold... Tears spilled freely now, dripping onto her coat. She clutched the bracelet in her fist, pressing it to her heart, her mind trying to make sense of everything. Who put the letter there? Why now? Was Emily alive? A sound echoed from above, a door closing, footsteps. She froze. She wasn't alone. The house had not changed in 12 years. Allison Granger lived in a small 2-bedroom home on the north edge of Eugene, where the city thinned into pine trees and the siding needed repainting, and the porch light had a faint buzz to it when it flickered on at dusk. But inside, everything was meticulously clean, obsessively so, not because she liked order, but because disorder terrified her now. Chaos meant losing control, and losing control meant losing everything. The 2nd bedroom was still Emily's. It remained untouched. Each year Allison washed the bedsheets and dusted the dresser, but otherwise she refused to move a thing. A pink stuffed bunny sat at the center of the pillow, slightly tilted, as if waiting for its owner to return from school. The walls were covered in hand-painted butterflies. The closet still held tiny jackets and glitter-covered shoes. A nightlight in the shape of a cloud still glowed softly, running on the same plug-in timer since 2013. 12 years had passed. Emily would be 15 now, but in that room she would always be 3. Allison stood in the doorway and stared at the bed. Her hand slowly lifted the bracelet, the one she had found beneath the 7th stair. She hadn't let it go since. She had even fallen asleep clutching it, as if it might disappear in the night. The beads were cracked and faded, but unmistakable. No one else could have made this. It was Emily's. The last time Allison had seen it, it had been wrapped around her daughter's tiny wrist in the mall parking lot, and then gone. She didn't cry now, not in this room. Her tears belonged elsewhere, in bathrooms, parked cars, or beneath gray skies. In here she felt too fragile. It was like stepping into a memory bubble. One wrong breath, and everything might collapse. A knock at the door startled her. She slipped the bracelet into her jeans pocket and closed Emily's door with careful fingers. Through the peephole she saw him, a familiar silhouette, trench coat, slight limp, unshaved jaw. Detective Marcus Hale. She hadn't seen him in 6 years. She opened the door slowly. "You found me. You're not exactly off the grid, Allison." She offered a tired smile. "Come in." Hale stepped inside, removing his coat. He didn't comment on the silence or the slight scent of lavender that still clung to the air, a scent tied to Emily's old shampoo. Instead, he walked straight to the kitchen and sat at the counter like he used to. "How long are we going to pretend this is a normal visit?" Allison asked, grabbing 2 mugs from the cabinet. "You tell me." He leaned back. "You found something, didn't you?" She set a mug in front of him. "A letter." He didn't react at first, just let the steam from the coffee rise into his face. "Tell me everything," he finally said. So she did. She recounted the visit to the mall, the envelope, the message, the stairwell, the bracelet. When she was done, Hale rubbed his eyes. "I worked that case for 3 years, Allison. You know that. I chased ghosts. I interrogated mall workers, security guards. I pulled tapes, logs, vendor schedules, nothing, no suspects, no leads. But someone left that bracelet," she said quietly. "And someone could be screwing with you," he replied. "Have you considered that?" "I considered it. I also considered that I found something under a stair where no one ever looks that belonged to my daughter, and that it was accompanied by a letter addressed specifically to me." He didn't argue. He just nodded slowly. "I'm not officially a detective anymore. I took early retirement 2 years ago." "I know," she said. "You were tired." "I was defeated." Silence. The coffee grew cold. Then he said, "I want to see it. The letter, the bracelet, the stairwell." "You really mean that?" He looked at her. "Do you?" That night, after he left, Allison went to the backyard. There was a swing hanging from the large tree near the fence. It had been Emily's, but now it only swayed in the wind. Allison stood beside it and rested her hand on the frayed rope. She heard footsteps approaching, not from the yard, but from the alley. She turned quickly, her heart pounding. But it was only her new neighbor, Angela Wynne, walking her dog, a stocky black Labrador named Moose. Angela was in her mid-40s, wore round glasses, and always seemed to be juggling groceries, paperwork, or late-night phone calls. "Evening," Angela said gently. "Evening," Allison replied. "You okay?" "Just remembering things I can't forget." Angela nodded as if she understood more than she. "We all carry something." That's when Moose, the dog, began sniffing at the base of the tree. He whined once, scratched, and then looked up. "What is it, boy?" Angela asked, pulling him back. But his tail was stiff now, his ears flat. Allison tilted her head. "He never does that." Angela gave a nervous laugh. "Dogs are weird, or maybe the tree smells like a raccoon." They didn't talk much more, but Allison didn't sleep well that night. And in the morning, when she returned to the base of the tree, she noticed something odd. A small, freshly disturbed patch of dirt. She didn't touch it. Not yet. Tom Granger lived 200 miles away in Spokane. They hadn't spoken in over 5 years, not since the final court hearing, where they agreed to stop blaming each other, but now she found herself dialing his number. He answered on the second ring. "Hello? It's me," she said, a long pause. "Allison? I need to talk to you about Emily." Another pause. She could almost hear his heart rate shift. "I'll be there tomorrow." The knock on the door came at exactly 10:42 a.m. Tom Granger stood on the porch, older than she remembered, his hair grayer and face leaner. But his eyes were the same, pale blue, filled with guilt and questions that had never found words. Allison opened the door without speaking. He stepped inside slowly, like a man entering a crime scene, afraid to disturb the ghosts. He paused in the hallway and looked at the closed door to Emily's room. "You kept it the same?" She nodded. "Exactly. I thought Maybe that would change someday. I didn't. They sat at the kitchen table, a worn wood surface between them. She placed the bracelet in the center, gently. His fingers trembled as he picked it. Jesus, that's hers. I know. Where? She told him everything. The mall, the letter, the stairwell. He held the bracelet like it might shatter. 12 years, and it was just... there? No, it was hidden. Someone wanted me to find it. Tom's hard. Then someone's been waiting, watching. She hesitated. There's more. She told him about the base of the tree, the dog's reaction, the disturbed dirt, the feeling that something was changing, waking up. That afternoon, they stood side by side in the dirt. Tom held a small spade, and Allison watched as he knelt and began to dig. 3 inches down, the shovel hit something soft. Fabric. He brushed the dirt away carefully. It was a plastic grocery bag, tied at the top. Inside was a small metal lunchbox. Pink rusted around the hinges, stickers of stars, and a unicorn, half peeled. Emily's name was written in faded marker on the bottom. Tom sat back on his heels, stunned. Allison covered her mouth. They opened it together. Inside were 4 items. A photo of Emily at age 3, wearing the same hoodie from the mall. A child's drawing of a tall figure holding a balloon, the child next to it labeled Me. A paper napkin with the letters AG written in smudged crayon, a yellow rubber duck missing one eye. Allison felt her knees buckle. She had never seen the drawing before. Tom's voice broke. This was buried here. Someone came into our yard. She nodded slowly and left her things. Later that night, she called Detective Hale. He arrived within the hour. The next morning, Angela Wynne stood on her porch watching the scene unfold. A police cruiser had come and gone, and now Detective Hale was on his knees near the tree taking photos. Angela sipped her coffee, her eyes shaded behind large sunglasses. Moose sat beside her, tail twitching. She waved politely when Allison looked over. Allison didn't wave back. Inside, Hale examined the items again. There's no DNA, no fingerprints, nothing useful. But someone planted this to be found. Why now? Tom asked. That's the part that terrifies me, Hale said. That evening, the doorbell rang. Angela stood there looking nervous. Hey, sorry to bother, but, I think I should tell you something. Allison opened the door wider. What is it? Angela stepped in, holding a crumpled envelope. This came in the mail. No return address, no name, just my house number. I thought it was junk at first, but then I opened it. Inside the envelope was a single photo. It showed a girl, maybe 12 or 13, sitting on a bench in what looked like a train station. Her hair was long and dark, but her eyes... Allison nearly dropped it. I thought it looked like her, Angela whispered. That's why I'm here. Tom stepped forward. Where did this come from? Angela looked shaken. Yesterday. Same time you were digging in the backyard. Hale took the photo. We'll scan it, run it through facial recognition, see if anything comes up. Allison stared at the girl in the photo. There was something haunting in her expression, not fear, but resignation, like she had been waiting too long to be found. Days passed. The police remained tight-lipped. Hale worked quietly, often in the background. He reviewed mall security footage again, this time focusing on vendors and security staff who had access to restricted areas. He found one name that hadn't been fully explored back then, Jonathan Pierce, a janitor who worked at Valley Ridge Mall for 8 months before quitting the week after Emily vanished. At the time, he had no criminal record, nothing suspicious. But now? Now he was registered in another state, Washington, living under a different name. Hale didn't tell Allison yet, not until he was sure. Meanwhile, strange things continued to happen. Tom swore he saw someone watching the house from across the street at 3 a.m. When he went outside, the figure vanished. Allison found a child's hair clip on her windshield, the same type Emily used to wear. Angela's dog Moose began refusing to walk near a certain stretch of fence. Every time he got close, he whimpered and pulled away. And late one night, Allison was awakened by the sound of a child humming outside her bedroom window. She froze. The sound faded slowly, like it was never really there, but she knew it had been. The next morning she found small footprints in the garden, bare feet, size consistent with a young teenager. At the same time, Hale tracked down Jonathan Pierce. He now went by John Peterman. He worked as a groundskeeper at a remote campground 2 hours north of Seattle. Hale drove there alone. Pierce looked older, balding, nervous, but not surprised to see a badge. Hale showed him the photo of the girl on the bench. Pierce's hand trembled. "I've never seen her," he lied. "You sure?" Hale pressed. "She ain't the only one who goes missing," Pierce muttered. "Some people want to stay gone." Hale leaned in. "What do you know about the stairwell at Valley Ridge Mall?" Pierce flinched, but he off. Hale knew he was connected, but he couldn't prove it, not yet. Back in Eugene, Allison sat alone on her porch. The wind had picked up. Clouds gathered low over the pines. She looked at the bracelet again. She had begun to wear it on her wrist, a threadbare symbol of hope. She thought about the note. "She's not gone, not like you think." And now, a photo, a lunchbox, a drawing, footprints. She felt it, the truth moving closer. The air had changed. People were watching. Shadows were shifting. Someone had buried her daughter's things in her own backyard. Someone had sent a photo of a girl who looked like Emily. Someone was leading her toward something. But who? And why now? That night, another letter arrived. No return address, no name. Inside, a single sentence. Ask the woman next door what she saw that day. Angela hesitated at the door for a long time before opening it. Allison stood there, her face unreadable, not angry, not scared, just tired. But her voice was clear. "You need to tell me what you saw." Angela blinked. "What?" 12 years ago, Valley Ridge Mall, the day Emily disappeared." Allison held up the note. "Someone thinks you saw something, and now I need the truth." Angela's mouth opened, then closed again. She looked over her shoulder as if expecting someone to stop her. Then she stepped aside. "Come in." They sat at the kitchen table. Moose lay underfoot, unbothered. Angela took a deep breath. "I worked at the boutique across from the Carousel. Back then, I was part-time, Saturdays only." Allison stared. "I never told the police," Angela said, "because I didn't think it mattered. And because I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" Angela's fingers fidgeted with the corner of a napkin. "I saw a man, not clearly. He was standing near the stairwell, the same one you found the bracelet in. He was holding a little girl. She wasn't crying, she wasn't struggling, but I knew something felt wrong." "Why didn't you do anything?" "I did," Angela said quickly. "I called security. I told them what I saw. They brushed it off, said it was probably a parent." Allison clenched her jaw. Angela added, "I even described the man. Medium build, dark jacket, baseball cap. They said no one like that matched any report." "Did you see his face?" Angela shook her head. He turned away. "Did you see the girl's face?" Angela hesitated. "Only from the side, brown hair, ponytail, a pink hoodie." Allison's stomach flipped. "Emily." Angela reached into a drawer and pulled out a folded sheet of paper. It was a copy of a security complaint. Dated the day Emily disappeared. "I kept it," she said softly, "in case I ever needed to prove I tried." Allison took the paper, stunned. Someone had known, someone had said something, and no one had listened. Not then, but now? Now someone wanted it uncovered. Meanwhile, Hale was already in Washington again. He had gotten a court order to search Jonathan Pierce's property, a cabin nestled deep in the woods, barely within range of a cell tower. Pierce wasn't home. The place smelled of mildew and gasoline. Hale moved methodically. In the garage, he found old maintenance uniforms from the Valley Ridge Mall stuffed in a box. Behind a panel in the closet, he discovered photos, grainy prints of the mall interior, stairwells, corridors, surveillance angles. Then, a journal. Inside were fragments, thoughts, sentences, not full entries, just phrases written as if to be forgotten later. She asked me if the horses moved when no one was watching. "Don't go back, they'll see her." She remembers the song, and then a list of dates. Each one matched Emily's birthday. Back in Eugene, Allison and Tom sat together on the porch. "She was carried out," Allison whispered, "not dragged, not forced, just taken, like it was nothing." Tom ran his hands through his hair. She didn't cry. "She trusted him," Allison said, "whoever he was." Silence. Then Tom said, "Do you remember the photo from that envelope?" She looked resigned, but not afraid. Alan, what if she was raised to believe something else, that we gave her up, that she was left behind? That's not possible, isn't it? She looked down at the bracelet on her wrist. A symbol of childhood, a symbol of hope. We have to find her. That night, Allison dreamed of the carousel, but the horses moved, slowly, in the shadows, each one whispering her name. She woke in a sweat. Outside, the wind howled, and something moved in the backyard. The next morning, Hale returned. He placed the journal on the table. "It's him," he said. "He knew. He was watching. He took her." "But where is she?" Tom asked. "I don't know," Hale replied. "Yet?" Angela arrived shortly after, holding something wrapped in a towel. "This was left on my porch," he said. Inside was a VHS, unlabeled. Hale found an old player at a thrift store that afternoon. They watched it together in Allison's living room. The footage was grainy, a home video. A young girl, maybe 5, sitting at a table coloring. A man's voice off-screen. "Say hi to the camera." The girl looked up. Allison gasped. Tom whispered, "Emily." The girl smiled softly. "Hi." It was her, not at 3, but older. She had lived, at least for a while. Hale paused the tape. "The voice, that's Pierce." Allison covered her mouth. Tom stood. "Where was this taken?" "There's a calendar in the corner. It says 2016. "That's 3 years after she disappeared," Allison said. Angela's voice cracked. Then she was alive. For sure. Hale looked at them both. And maybe still is. They returned to the mall. With permission from the city, Hale opened the lower access corridors. Long abandoned maintenance tunnels ran beneath the floors, mostly used by janitors and security. They followed the layout beneath the carousel, past the stairwell, down a narrow hallway, and then they found it, a locked door, steel. No markings. Hale picked the lock. Inside was a small room, forgotten, windowless, dust-choked. There was a child's mattress, a broken chair, drawings on the wall. Allison stepped forward, her hands trembling. On the far wall, written in crayon, "I'm not supposed to talk. They said you left me. I still remember the horses." Tom fell to his knees. Hale whispered, "She was kept here after the abduction." A single paper butterfly hung from the ceiling. The air was thick with the past. Allison touched the wall. It was real. Everything was real. They left the mall changed. Allison no longer doubted. Tom no longer hoped quietly. And Hale was no longer chasing shadows. The truth was closer now than ever before. And someone, somewhere, was running out of time. The VHS recording had been seared into everyone's minds. Emily was alive, or had been, years after her disappearance, but time was now the real enemy. Hale stepped up the search for Jonathan Pierce, but the man was gone. The cabin was abandoned. Neighbors said he had disappeared 2 nights earlier, shortly after Hale confronted him. "Someone came in the night," a neighbor told the sheriff. "Lights off, engine running," and he was gone. Back in Eugene, Allison sat in Emily's room. gripping the stuffed bunny. Her eyes were on the ceiling where the glow-in-the-dark stars still clung, faintly visible in the dim light. She whispered to no one, "Where are you?" That's when Angela knocked again. "I remembered something," she said, hands trembling. "It's stupid, probably nothing, but you need to hear it." They sat at the kitchen table. It was about a month after Emily vanished. I got a visit from a man I didn't know. He asked strange questions, not about Emily directly, but me? Angela nodded. He wanted to know if you were stable, if you had other children, if you'd ever talked about giving Emily up. What? Allison nearly stood. Angela swallowed. I told him no. That you were a good mother, but I never reported it. I thought he was a journalist, or someone from child services. I didn't ask enough questions. Do you remember his name? No. But I remember his hands. He had a burn scar. Here. She pointed to her left palm, shaped like a crescent moon. Hale combed through archived employment files from Valley Ridge Mall. He filtered names by incident reports, then cross-referenced hospital ER burns around the time, and he found it. Robert Ennis. Hired briefly as a night security consultant, terminated after 2 months, treated at a local ER for a chemical burn from a maintenance spill. Crescent-shaped scar on his palm. But Robert Ennis didn't exist anymore. His records ended abruptly until a DNA registry hit lit up from an unrelated police inquiry in Spokane under the name David Merrill, legal guardian of a 15-year-old girl named Anna. Hale drove to Spokane that night. David Merrill lived in a neat suburban cul-de-sac, white vinyl siding, 2 cars in the driveway, wind chimes hanging by the porch. Hale watched from a distance. Through binoculars, he saw the girl. She stepped outside to feed the dog. Long, dark hair, ponytail, slender frame, calm movements. Then she turned slightly. The profile, the eyes. Hale dropped the binoculars. It was her, Emily. He didn't approach. Not yet. He returned to Eugene first, sat with Allison and Tom, showed them photos. Tom fell silent. Allison reached forward, fingers grazing the image on the screen like it might dissolve if touched too hard. "She's alive," she whispered. "She's been living as someone else," Hale said. "Legally adopted, new name, new school, no knowledge of the past, at least not publicly." Angela sat at the edge of the couch, stunned. "You can't just take her," she said. "I know," Allison replied, "but I can make her remember." The next day, Hale worked through legal channels, quietly, carefully. But Allison had another idea. She wrote a letter, a real one, ink on paper. Signed it "Your Mother," sealed it with the old return address. She drove to Spokane and mailed it from a drop box 4 blocks from Emily's. 2 days later, it arrived. The same afternoon, David Merrill, formerly Robert Ennis, found it and panicked. He locked the doors, shut off the Wi-Fi. He knew something was unraveling. That night, Emily, or Anna, as shelf, found the letter hidden in the trash bin, opened it beneath a blanket with a flashlight. Inside, just 2 things. A photo of a woman holding a baby, Emily as a newborn. The bracelet, repaired, restrung, beads clean. The note read, "You made this, with me. You are not who he says you are. You are Emily Granger, and I never stopped looking for you." Emily stared at the bracelet. The colors stirred something, a smell, apple juice. Carpeted floors, horses on a carousel, a voice her own, whispering, "They said you left me." The next morning she ran. Not far, just to the park. Hale was already watching. He approached gently, sat on the bench across from her. "Do you believe in memories hiding?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "I think I know who you are." She didn't speak, but she didn't run either. That night, David Merrill was arrested. He confessed. It wasn't supposed to be kidnapping, he claimed. He said he rescued her, that he knew Allison had looked away, that he had seen neglect and stepped in. But it was all lies. He had watched Allison for weeks, knew her routines, saw opportunity, not justice. He took Emily and raised her as Anna, told her her mother had died, told her she was unwanted. But now, the lie was over. At the precinct, Allison waited in a small room. The door opened, and Emily stepped in. They both froze. For a moment, neither moved. Then Emily whispered, "I remember the horses." Allison collapsed into tears. "I remember you." They held each other. Years vanished, and something lost was returned. Not perfectly, not easily, but fully. Emily stayed in a state facility for the first 48 hours, not as a prisoner, but as someone being protected from the chaos outside. The media had caught wind of the story. "Missing girl found after 12 years," blazed across headlines. Photos of Allison sobbing on the courthouse steps circulated. Everyone had something to say, but no one knew what really mattered. Emily didn't know how to feel. She had 2 lives, and now they were colliding. Her name, her face, her memories, all of it under question. Anna Merrill was gone, but Emily Granger didn't quite feel real yet. Allison visited the second day. They sat across from each other, hands clasped around warm mugs of tea, the space between them crowded with everything unseen. "You don't have to remember everything," Allison said gently. "Just remember, I never stopped looking." Emily nodded. "I don't know how to be your daughter." "I don't know how to be your mom anymore," Allison whispered, "but I'd love to learn again with you." Silence. Then Emily asked, "Did I like books?" Allison smiled. "You carried one everywhere, even to bed. Your favorite was about stars that could talk." Emily blinked. "The blue one with—" Allison's breath caught. "Yes." A memory, flickering and fragile, surfaced in Emily's mind. A small nightlight, the sound of whispered lullabies, a warm presence brushing hair behind her ear. "I think I remember your voice." Tom Granger was slower to approach. He didn't want to overwhelm her. But one afternoon he knocked on her temporary residence door. "I brought you something," he said, handing her an old Polaroid, Emily at age 2, riding his shoulders at a county fair. "I used to call you Daddy Horse," Emily whispered, surprised by her own voice. Tom's eyes filled. "You did." They sat together for a long time, just breathing in the same space. "I never forgot you," he said. The man who raised her, David Merrill, was being held without bail. Emily didn't ask to see him, but Allison gave her the choice. She declined. "I know he lied," she said, "but part of me still remembers the bedtime stories, the cereal, the way he tied my shoes." "You can honor that part of you," Allison said, "without forgiving what he did." "I don't know if I hate him," Emily admitted. "You don't have to. Just be honest with your heart." Angela Wynne was interviewed by local news. She told the truth, every part she had played and failed to play. She apologized on camera to Allison, to the public, to herself. Allison forgave her. "Silence protects no one," she said, "but honesty can save more than one person." Angela's dog Moose was still nervous near trees, but calmer now. At home, Allison took the bracelet, the one Emily had made at 3 years old, and spread the beads across the kitchen table. Some were missing, others cracked. She invited Emily to sit beside her. "Want to make a new one?" she asked. Emily nodded. Together they threaded new beads, different colors, different letters. It didn't say Emily anymore. It spelled home. Emily began therapy. School would wait. She needed space. Air. Safety. Sometimes she asked questions late at night. Did I like cinnamon toast? Did I ever have a dog? Why did I stop remembering? Allison never rushed the answers. One day Emily asked, "Do you still have the stars?" Allison brought her into the bedroom. On the ceiling, barely glowing, were the old decals. Emily laid beneath them and whispered, "I used to talk to them. I thought they could see you." "I talked to them too," Allison said. "I asked them to bring you back." Weeks passed. Emily laughed again, not often but sincerely. She asked to go back to the carousel. The mall was closed now, condemned and silent, but the carousel still stood, rusty, quiet, waiting. They entered with Hale's help. He had keys to everything now. Emily walked around the horses. She stopped at one, the pink one with the broken ear. "I wanted to ride this one." "You asked me," Allison said. "I told you, next time." Emily looked up. "Let's make it now." So she climbed on. Allison pushed her slowly, in silence. There were no lights, no music, just the sound of memories being mended. It was a sunny Sunday in mid-April when Allison asked Emily if she wanted to take a picture. "Like together?" Emily asked. Allison smiled. "Just like the old one, you and me." Emily hesitated, then nodded. They stood in the backyard near the tree, the one where the lunchbox had been buried. Spring had returned. The grass was greener, the swing moved gently in the breeze, no longer empty. Tom held the camera. "Ready?" he asked. Emily nodded. Allison wrapped her arm around her daughter. The new bracelet, the one they made together, sparkled faintly in the sunlight. Tom clicked the button. A soft, mechanical sound, a moment captured. The image developed slowly. Faint outlines, then color, then clarity. Allison looked down at it. Emily was smiling, a real unguarded smile. 12 years, and she was home. Later that night, Allison sat alone in Emily's room. Not the room preserved in grief, but the new one, a fresh coat of paint, posters chosen by Emily herself, a bookshelf slowly filling with titles she now loved, a desk covered in beads and string, a notebook open with half-finished lyrics to a song she was writing. Allison ran her fingers across the edges of the new life they were building. It was fragile, like glass, but it was real. She sat on the edge of the bed, pulled out her journal, and wrote her final letter. "Dear Emily, I don't know how many letters I've written over the years. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Some were filled with hope, others with pain. I used to imagine how you'd look at 10. At 13, I used to close my eyes and try to hear your voice growing older. I never stopped writing to you. But now I don't need to imagine anymore. Now I can hear your voice in the next room. And that is the greatest miracle of my..." She closed the journal and placed it on the shelf, not hidden, not sealed, just set down. Because some stories didn't need to be rewritten, only continued. Emily, in her own room, stared out the window. She used to fear the night. Now she watched it, thought about everything that had been stolen and what had been given back. She wasn't Anna anymore, but she wasn't exactly the Emily that once was. She was something else now, someone forged by silence and rediscovery, someone carrying 2 names, 2 lives, and 1 future. Uncertain, but her. She turned away from the glass and walked to the desk, sat down, picked up a pen. She began a letter, but not to anyone else, to herself. "Dear Emily, you made it. I know you're scared. I know not everything makes sense yet, but you are loved, and you were never really forgotten. You were always a story waiting to be finished." She folded the letter and placed it in the same box that held the photo, the bracelet, and one last thing, a crayon drawing of a pink horse with a girl sitting on its back, smiling. The carousel was dismantled the next month, but Allison asked for one thing, the broken horse Emily had loved. She kept it in the backyard, not as a shrine, but as a reminder of the day she said next time, and of the day next time